We are here today to mark a very somber moment in Lebanon's story. It's been 1 year since the devastating blast in the Beirut port, one of the largest in recent history, with unprecedented impact on families and the country as a whole. Every child in the greater Beirut area, or more than 600,000 children, has been affected directly or indirectly. 6 children died in the blast. 1,000 children were injured. Thousands lost their loved ones, their friends, those they cared for. The blast shattered children's sense of normalcy and robbed children and their families of safety while being in their own home. Infrastructure and services sustained enormous damage because of the explosion, including schools, hospitals, and public water and electricity. And since then, the situation has gotten worse. Lebanon is very sadly in free fall and is quickly at risk of hitting rock bottom. The country is struggling through a triple crisis: economic, political, and of course COVID. And these multiple crises are threatening to leave almost every child in the country in need of support to meet their basic needs. According to a recent UNICEF assessment, the escalating crises are putting children at risk, as the majority of children and their families cannot afford to even meet their basic needs. Families reported that over 30% of children are going to bed hungry. Imagine this in Lebanon. 30% of children are going to bed hungry in Lebanon. 77% of Lebanese households said they do not have enough cash to buy necessary food in Lebanon. And that is also the reality for most Syrian refugees as well. Let me quote Fadia, a mother of 2, who told us, "Life has never been as hard as it is today, not even during the war. Back then, no child ever had to leave school and go and work. Today, her 2 sons, Fadia has several children, but 2 of her sons, 15 and 17, spend 5 hours a day picking oranges to support the family. However, it's not always enough. When we have money, we buy what we need. If we don't have money," she said, "we don't eat." So this is the shocking reality of Fadia and her children, and sadly hundreds of thousands of people in Lebanon today. We at UNICEF have one concern that is emerging. You all know about electricity. You probably have 1 or 2 hours of electricity a day. Maybe if you're lucky, you have 4 hours of electricity a day. Our big concern is water. If the water system falls apart, then electricity will be a memory of a problem, because water will be a big problem if we don't have access to water in our homes. So we're concerned about the water system. We're concerned that if it falls apart, 71% of the country will risk losing access to water, and that's around 4 million people, including 1 million refugees. Let me quote another one of our children, Hassan. He said, "When you turn the tap, you're used to having water. It's a natural thing. You think water will come. But not having water is something that we're not used to. And we need to do everything possible so we don't have to get used to it." So this is a big concern, and UNICEF is working with partners to try to support the 4 water establishments to make sure that that system can continue to exist. You know, as I said in Arabic, Lebanon is known for its people, their abilities, and their potential. What we're seeing in Lebanon today should simply not be happening. We're bearing witness to the rapid collapse of key infrastructure and services that should be educating, protecting, and keeping children thriving and healthy in Lebanon. We can't fail to protect this generation. We need to invest in them because they're the future of the country. We need the rights of those children to be respected. And it really is time for our leaders, the Lebanese leaders, to overcome their political differences. This is first and foremost their responsibility. It's high time to come together and form a government that has servicing communities and the Lebanese people at its core. A government that is capable of putting the country on the path to recovery, because no one will collaborate until there is a government fully. And a government that is finally able to address people's grievances and aspiration. And it is time for a transparent and credible investigation to determine the cause of the explosion, hold those responsible for the blast accountable, and bring justice to affected families, including those who lost loved ones. Meanwhile, standing idle, doing nothing is not an option. The cost of inaction is too high. So in this fragile situation, communities in Lebanon, including the Lebanese as well as the Syrian and Palestinian refugees, are at risk of losing their main access to services, and the consequences will be far-reaching. So that's why UNICEF continues to work in areas of education, in areas of health, in areas of water and sanitation, as I've said. That's why cash for families is key as part of a social safety net, especially as subsidies on basic items is removed. There's a program that UNICEF is supporting called Haddi, Near Me, Haddi, which is providing cash to vulnerable families with young children, including young children with disabilities, people over the age of 70. This is the kind of social safety net that we need to have in place, working with the World Bank, working with other partners, so that the most vulnerable among us don't suffer. Those who don't have access to dollars don't suffer. So it's time for us to take collective action, to stand together. The Lebanese people are resilient. People are tired of that word because we've used it so many times. But they're resilient. But there is limits to resilience. There is limits to resilience. And even a resilient person needs a helping hand. So let's put aside our differences. Let's collaborate together. And please count on UNICEF to be part of the equation and part of the solution. Thank you.